So, Chef Suzette Gresham, first of all, congratulations on having one of the most beautiful houses in
Thank
Northern
you.
California. This is amazing.
It's really nice to come here.
In the house that I like to call the House of Watercolor, when in Italian is
Watercolor, Acquerello.
Acquerello. Very nice. What made you decide that name?
Well, we had a vision when we first opened the restaurant, and it was very different 30 years ago.
Sure.
But watercolor was something that stuck with us because of that really nice corner in the back. The framework fit perfectly. We had an amphora at that time.
Okay.
And Acquerello, watercolor, the amphora became our logo. It's on our business card.
Can you believe we're talking 3 decades? We're talking 30 years.
I never thought, no. I mean, you don't open a restaurant and go, gee, I hope I close in 10. You don't think things like that.
If I could take you back, so 30 years and a chunk of change, talk about the United Airlines employee, you.
Well,
Could you in your wildest dreams have seen all
That
this
was
happen?
under wraps. I didn't tell anybody where I came from.
Oh, did I out something I wasn't supposed to talk about?
Yeah, because I wasn't going to tell anybody about that because it wasn't known for good food. It was one of the best jobs I ever had. I worked for an Italian chef, no less. His name was Carmine Maffei from Napoli.
All right.
And he said, Suzette, just remember one thing. You cannot cook with bleep. And so I didn't. And it was really fun. But he also was instrumental in sharing with me the good foods, the good ideas, the materia prima, and understanding purity. And purity is always the elusive. That's the religion that I subscribe to. So you're always in search of something.
And if you're talking about purity right now in Northern California, and we, of course, the Farm to Fork capital, we're very excited about finding the purity.
I'm very excited about finding Sacramento because I didn't know what was going on up there. And I feel really, really bad because I'm a native Californian.
Sure.
And I should have known in my capital area what was going on. But what I didn't expect was the sense of community and the expertise and the love and the passion. I was unprepared.
Do you know how excited the city and the boroughs are about this bridge dinner that in reality, like a very small percentage of people get to go, yet still all eyes and ears are on this?
I almost turned it down. I didn't know what it was. And so when I did my homework and tried to figure out if I could really represent, I called Patrick Mulvaney, I spoke to his wife Bobbin, I called the folks that I know in the area, and the more and more I found out about it, I thought, well, I'm gonna give us a shot. And so I talked to Mike Testa, and I went up there and was completely taken aback by how close the farm to fork situation really is. Here in the city, it's very romantic. You go to the farmer's market, you load your car, you come back to your restaurant. But Allison Harvey went out and planted seeds for our dinner.
I was with her the day before yesterday.
She planted seeds for our dinner. I mean, how close do you get? That's incredible.
So that's the spirit of it, and you're part of the Fab Five. You are the leader of the Fab Five female chefs.
I've never had that title, but I'm going to hang on to that one.
I just made that up. I don't know if it's
great.
a thing, but
it's the Fab Five Femme Fatale.
Fab Five Femme Fatale. Write that down, Mike Testa. Write that down.
Yeah, it is.
What I love about this is that it is embracing the women in the industry. And, I don't want to go into dark, deep spaces, but it wasn't that long ago where, like, you showed up at one of your first restaurants and they just assumed you were the pastry chef. Because how could a woman be
No.
chef
Pardon me.
cuisine?
They assumed I was the dishwasher or the pantry girl. Not even
more so then.
Not even the pastry chef.
Okay.
No, pantry land is the world of women. That's where you got dumped. So things have come a little bit.
Yeah, because how dare a woman step up to be the chef of
I
cuisine?
certainly, for this dinner especially, want to give a shout out to my male counterparts who have been so supportive and so embracing of this final kind of coming up. A little credit, a little recognition. But the women in Sacramento have been doing quietly what they should have been doing for a long time. They're not newcomers.
Amen.
And that's what I really love is that they are the second and third generations of farming families, of ranchers, of chefs who are just doing quietly what their families have been doing for generations.
Absolutely. And what you've been doing for over 3 decades now as well.
True.
So what is your singular vision? What is in your heart and in your mind every day? Like today is probably no different than 30 years ago when you arrived.
It was collaboration. Collaboration has been my goal, professionalism, and just an elevation of my profession. I was very idiosyncratic and unusual 30 years ago in that I wasn't holding the normal kitchen. I wasn't running a militaristic style kitchen. And I have to believe there was some really great things that came from that. I didn't feel very validated. I thought I was very wrong. I didn't know what I was doing. But as the years would go by and people would come back and say, Chef, I never forgot when you taught me this or you taught me that. And I try to emulate that. I really try to be you. I was like, oh my gosh. So I guess I'm doing something okay. And so coming forward to this dinner, the big thing for me was to bring everyone to the forefront, to bury the hatchet between the genders. Male, female is irrelevant. Just make the best chefs, the best food, and have the best time.
How many people do you fit in this house?
It's amazing. This is a little tiny space, and we haven't really, renovated in 30 years in the kitchen. We've added more banquet spaces, we added more wine cellars, but the back of the house sometimes we just kind of work miracles in lots of respects. We have a pasta person.
Yeah.
We do pastries with two on a crew of two. We have a full day crew. We have a full night crew and dishwashing and the front of the house. My waiters are spectacular. Our SOM team is just the best, and my partner.
Can I say the best thing that happened, you got stuck in traffic, and I'm sorry about that, but it got me a chance to kind of settle in here and poke around a little bit. So your employees are saying that not only do you just leave cookbooks around for them to grab, take home, you'll reimburse if they bought a cookbook.
Oh, of course. Yes, that's when I give out tips, and I'll say, okay, I know you guys would like to go have a beer, but if you buy a book, I'll match it 1 for 1. You spend $25, I'll pay you $25.
What?
So I'm really pro education, and sometimes we forget that our young culinarians are just trying to live day to day.
Sure.
And it's really hard to excite them about save your money and go out to dine, save your money, buy a book, save your money, travel, try to put something in the bank, try and make a plan for your future. So I have for a long time believed that building a better person builds a better cook, which builds a better chef and makes great food.
Do you remember your first cookbook?
Oh my gosh, I've got so many, but some of them were really back in the day. I mean, you remember James Beard was alive when I first started cooking, and Alice Waters was an extremist doing all of her fresh stuff that she was doing.
Right.
And Jeremiah Tower was in his heyday, who was my predecessor last year at your bridge dinner.
That's right.
As well. And so they were the ones that you were really trying to model yourself after.
If you had one cookbook, because we live in a foodie culture now, especially in Northern California, where there's so many great agricultural and otherwise items that you can pull in off the farm, what's the one cookbook you would say, hey, get this, do this?
I have a series I give to my young culinarians that are implemented for educational purposes that are the ground level. They're not my one cookbook, but some of the things are Letters to a Young Chef by Daniel Boulud. I make everybody read it.
Okay.
It's only 165 pages. You can buy it for less than $10 on Amazon.
Okay.
It validates what we do. It's the Bible. It talks about the 10 Commandments in the kitchen. It's just the Bible. There's another book that I make everyone get called Gastronomy of Italy, because it's written encyclopedia style, and it's a reference point for them. The Slow Food book, also another encyclopedia style book, because remember, people coming in don't always have Italian experience.
Of course.
And so we start throwing jargon around where we expect you to know the 21 regions, or we expect you to know all these different types of pasta, or the vinegars, or the olive oils, or any of these indigenous ingredients, and people just don't always know.
Right.
They don't realize the breadth and scope of what Italy represents.
And so with that said, do you have a favorite food movie?
Well, there's an old-timey one called Babette's Feast.
Okay.
There's Tempopo.
Yeah.
I love even the current one. One of my 13-year-old ladies who dines here is in love with the 100-Foot Journey.
That's one of my favorite books in the world, and it segues into my next point.
Yeah, and so, there's a lot of good ones out there.
100-Foot Journey, from a movie guy to a food woman. You've got to watch this movie, and it's all about the quest to get the Michelin star. Probably not your quest, but you got not one, but
Well, there's
two.
some key things in there that I actually could align with, and that's the work that's involved, especially Helen Mirren's role and what she represented. And we are at a time where we're at a cross point now, where you have to either stand and be a purist, or maybe be a modernist, or even understand advocacy. You never had to do that before as a chef. You have to understand all the issues, whether it's waste, or it's water saving, or it's, our ranchers are facing such, obstacles with farming.
Sure.
And just the idea that there's so many other things. There's childhood obesity, there's nutrition, there's vegans, there's vegetarians, there's all of the dietary restrictions. You have to be on top of your game in order to even talk the talk.
Every day. So even though I said when you arrive at the restaurant, it's probably the same as it was 30 years ago. With that said, in workflow, there are a lot of other things to consider.
No, before it was a little simpler in terms of I was thinking more of what was going to be on my plate that day. Now I'm thinking of what's going to be on my plate, in a much larger sense of the word.
Sure.
And so I'm trying to represent, I want my crew to be proud of working here. I want them to learn and understand, and when they leave, understand what they're taking with them. And I always make a joke about if you were driving down the street and your recipes flew out the window and your knife roll got lost, what would you own? So I train to that point: your palate, your eyes, your ears, your taste, your memory, your presence in a kitchen, how to be in a kitchen. It sounds ridiculous, but it's not that easy. How to go to any kitchen. I mean, if tomorrow I had to cook for, God and Thomas Keller,
Right.
I have a few recipes I would bring, but they're in my head. They're not locked up anywhere else. So I just want them to understand you own and you are responsible for yourself. You are the curator of your experience in this world.
A visceral presence in that kitchen. All right, so this big feast that very few get to go to, what are we missing out if we're not there? What are we looking forward to
Well,
if we
it's very scary. What I've done this year is a little on the treacherous side, and that is, I mean, you and I perhaps would not feel very comfortable standing up naked in front of these 850 people, but I'm asking the food to do that. I'm asking us to stay as clean and pristine as possible, nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
So that means there's not 15 ingredients piled high. That means we only have one shot to make it the best it can be and leave it alone.
You can't hide mistakes.
No, and so it's really clean this year. We have a beautiful selection of antipasti with all vegetables from all of the different farms in Sacramento being created by Allison Harvey from Ella's.
Of course.
Our second course is gorgeous. It's a smoked cherry wood sturgeon from the Delta in your area, created by Tokiko Sawada from Binshoyaki.
Fantastic.
Third course, Molly Hawks has done a stupendous job of making an eggplant timbalo with yet a different set of vegetables. First time pasta's ever been served individual on the bridge. They think I'm crazy. I am. She's got an heirloom tomato for the sauce, which we're really excited to experience that. And last but not least, the entree with Casey Schiedler from previously Taylor's Market and now at Bach is doing a llano seco pork loin arista, Florentine style, with roasted figs, heirloom greens, and beans. It's fabulous.
Watched her putting that together.
Oh my gosh, tasty.
It is nothing short of an honor hanging out
Tasty.
with you.
Thank you.
What's the best seat in the house for people making the journey from Sacramento?
I like the corners.
Either corner, best view in the house too.
Well, because your back's against the wall and you see it all.
Congratulations on everything.
Thank you so much.
I want to talk to you in 30 years and see what's going on.
I'll be here.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.